Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Dylan here. We have a major bombshell today about New York Attorney General Letitia James that you do not want to miss. Okay, let's just say this could be the end of the road. Not only the end of the road for Letitia James, but she could also be facing major punishment for going after Donald Trump. One of Trump's lawyers actually said that they would throw her in jail if she continues going after Trump. So they're not, and he also said, we're not messing around this time because the American people have, voted in Donald J. Trump. So we have some major breaking news updates with Letitia James, which we will be getting into. But before we do, we are going to read the Bible and pray because God comes first. Amen. Comment amen down below if you believe God comes first. Today's Bible reading is Romans 12:1. Brothers and sisters, in view of all we have just shared about God's compassion, I encourage you to offer your bodies as living sacrifices, dedicated to Him and pleasing to Him. This kind of worship is appropriate for you. Amen. So comment amen down below, my brothers and sisters. And now let's jump into this video. All right, so this is actually Trump's lawyer on the right and Benny Johnson on the left. And Benny Johnson asked the lawyer, what is your plan to do to stop the Democrats who are vowing retribution after Trump's win? And he starts off with talking about, people like Gavin Newsom trying to stop the Trump deportation, but they also get into Letitia James, and let's just say this lawyer, he's not holding back. Let's tune in, guys.
The rumblings that we're already getting, we're a sanctuary state, the federal government has no power here, we're not gonna do this in Massachusetts, there's gonna be no deportations, we're gonna fight back, we're gonna fight Donald Trump, we're gonna make sure that none of Donald Trump's wall can be built. I mean, we've seen this in the first term. How does Trump break through the amount of lawfare, the amount of demonic screaming from the left, kind of in a way, in the way that uses executive power constitutionally to say this is what's right for the country?
I think President Trump would say this. Even President Trump would say this. I think he learned his lesson from the first term, and that is personnel is key, right? And it is so critically important that you put good people in the right post like Mark Paoletta as Attorney General so you don't have to deal with this nonsense, right? You don't have to deal with this politicized and weaponized justice system. President Trump and his legal team now, led by John Sauer, who should be the Solicitor General of the United States, they've gotten monumental wins at the Supreme Court, including on presidential immunity. Let me just say this to Big Tish James, the New York Attorney General. I dare you to try to continue your lawfare against President Trump in his second term, because listen here, sweetheart, we're not messing around this time, and we will put your fat ass in prison for conspiracy against rights, and I promise you that. So,
put your fat butt in prison? That's crazy, guys. Yeah, they're not messing around whatsoever.
Think long and hard before you want to violate President Trump's constitutional rights or any other American's constitutional rights. It's not going to happen again.
We've been warning people on the show, Mike, this isn't the same Trump administration. Stop messing around. Don't try the funny business, because we know the team this time and they are not effing around. Right. And so we've done our best to warn. Maybe just really quickly here, Fani Willis. That seems to be one of the
Okay, update. Fani Willis is gone, so we don't need to talk about that. But what I did want to talk about is this utter arrogance. She actually responded. She tried to go after Trump after Trump is winning. And yeah, Trump's team is not having it, guys.
In New York City, where Democratic Governor Kathy Hochul was speaking, but now New York Attorney Letitia James is speaking here about how her office is going to respond to a Trump presidency. Let's listen in for a moment.
And with other Democratic AGs across this country to make sure that we would be ready to respond to any attempt to roll back our rights. So here we are. We've studied their platforms. We've identified certain possibilities, fact patterns. We've created contingency plans. So no matter what the next administration throws at us, we're ready. We're ready to respond to their attacks. We're ready to respond to any attempts to cut or eliminate any funding to the great state of New York, as the governor outlined. So despite what has happened on the national stage, we will continue to stand tall in the face of injustice, revenge, or retribution.
Crazy.
We will continue to protect and our most vulnerable and marginalized amongst us, because it is my sworn duty and responsibility to lead that fight, working with the governor of this great state, Kathy Hochul. This is not the time to be fearful, New York, but faithful and steadfast.
Yeah, bro. America voted for Trump. You're not gonna keep fighting back on Trump. I mean, it's just crazy. And I hate how much money she gets from federal tax dollars into her office. She gets millions and millions of your hard-earned dollars into her office to go after Trump. It's crazy, guys.
Knowing that I, as the Attorney General, along with my entire team, we are guardians of the law. And we are prepared, my friends, to fight back. Thank you.
All right, so that's Attorney General Letitia James from the state of New York, and there's the Governor Kathy Hochul, who spoke just a little while ago, saying that they are prepared for a Trump presidency. Let's bring in our Fox News legal editor, Carrie Urban. I'm still trying to make head or tail of that. Yeah, she's saying, well, we could be facing something. We don't know what it is. But whatever it is, we'll be ready.
Yeah, that was maybe the most distasteful speech I've ever seen a government official give after someone won the American presidency. And I think it reflects exactly how Letitia James has been this entire time. She has done everything in her power to destroy Donald Trump. She failed. You know how we know she failed? Because Donald Trump won decisively last night. This lawfare campaign that we have seen waged against Trump by attorneys general, by federal and state prosecutors, and them doing so by twisting the law in ways they had never done before. And we know this, right? This is not just a right-wing talking point. They use the law against Donald Trump in ways they've never used against anyone else in their states, in this country. And the American people spoke loud and clear last night and said, we're done with this. And yet, for the Attorney General of the state of New York to go on and give that speech just now is disgraceful.
It's just also a big FU to America, because America voted for Trump. Despite what Letitia James did about that, people said, you know what, Letitia, even though you went after Trump so hard, like, we don't believe you, okay? You're gonna call, Trump, Mar-a-Lago's only worth 18 million bucks. There were no victims. All the banks were paid back, and everyone was happy except for you, Letitia. And people were fed up with your BS. And Trump won in a landslide. He won in every single swing state.
And we're going to cut some of it that we missed at the top there. Meanwhile, I want to ask you about Special Counsel Jack Smith evaluating how to wind down 2 federal cases against President-elect Donald Trump, and where you see this going next.
Yeah, those cases go away. And they're winding it down because there's a DOJ policy that says you can't indict a sitting president, meaning you really can't pursue, prosecuting a president. And then you have the state cases. Now, that theory, that DOJ policy, has actually never been tested in the states before. But in the spirit of it, you would hope and you would think that states would do the same. We're still watching the Merchan case, the Judge Merchan case, and that's the Stormy Daniels, the business records case. There's a hearing on that on Tuesday, where Judge Merchan's next Tuesday. He's going to decide whether or not immunity applies to Donald Trump in that case per the Supreme Court decision. And then, of course, there's still the sentencing date on the books, the week of Thanksgiving.
So your former boss, Bill Barr, penned an op-ed in which he said, for the good of the country, he urges not just the federal prosecutors, but the state prosecutors to drop all of the cases against President-elect Trump.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's part of this lawfare campaign that we've been watching for years, for 8 years now. For 8 years, this is what's been happening. And in fact, the former Attorney General and I have been discussing this over the phone throughout the morning and this afternoon. And look, I think what's going to happen next week, for instance, in this hearing on the business records case, is even if Judge Merchan rejects the immunity argument, and I would argue that politically speaking, it's actually a way for him to get out if he wants. If he could get out of it, he can get out of the case. But if he doesn't, what's going to happen is Trump's lawyers are going to appeal that in the hopes of delaying the sentencing. But I would just say this. It would be wrong in the spirit, I think, of fairness and justice to keep that over Donald Trump's head while he's in office. So they may say, oh, look, here's the sentencing. We're just not going to execute on it for, the next 4 years.
Yeah, they were even worse than that. They want to sentence Trump before he even becomes president so they can call him a convicted felon. So, major bombshell update today about LETITIA James and about Judge Juan Merchan. So let me know your thoughts on this one down below, guys.